And the next player is Christian Eriksen, and I think he's a fantastic player, but I would move him on now. Look, he can run a game really, really well. He brings a lot of composure. We all know he's a fantastic passer, but there are obviously flaws to his defensive side. His physicality, his tackling ability, all that sort of stuff. He's someone that we cannot play for 50% or 60% of our games. Do I think he's a good backup to someone like Mainu who can come in and do a job? Yeah, I do. But this season he's been quite injured. You know, I think overall it might be best to move him on. Although having someone with his experience as a backup to Mainu is not actually a bad idea and it's not a bad shout. I just think that because he's getting older and older, the Premier League might be getting a bit too much for him now. Now, the next player we need to talk about is Scott McTominay, and I would sell him this summer. I think he has played a big role for us in the amount of goals he scored this season. But because of that, he's got, again, like Maguire, he's got a lot of interest from other clubs. Is this guy a good player? No. I'll be honest, he isn't. He's not a Man United player. He doesn't offer much to the team in terms of possession. His tackling ability and his ball winning ability, I think, has decreased since from when he used to play as a CDM. Yes, he has that eye for goal, but that is simply not enough for someone who plays in his position. He's not a striker, and he doesn't get anywhere near enough goals for him to be our top scorer. So I would sell him for the fact that he's probably quite overrated, and a lot of teams will be willing to buy him for quite a good amount of money. So we could sell him, and I think that there are so many players who can do what he can do a lot better, probably for cheaper than what he goes for. Now, for me, Bruno Fernandes is the next player. He's had a very bad season, and I've changed my mind towards the end of the season now, and I would keep him because I've kind of forgotten how good he actually is. Towards the middle of the season, I probably would have said sell him because he wasn't really having any impact on the team, and I thought he was just finished now. I thought he was wasting possession, being stupid on the ball. But now, in the last few games, when he's looked refreshed and when he's taken a break away from the team, he's starting to show his quality again. And for me, a quality Bruno Fernandes is one of the best number 10s in the world. And if Bruno Fernandes could reach the levels he reached back when he first joined us in those first two seasons, we wouldn't be able to find a better replacement for him. Which is honestly probably one of the reasons why I would also keep Mason Mount. Because I think he's been our worst player this year. A terrible signing. But simply having someone else who can be a backup to Fernandes. He's only been here for 1 year, which means it's going to be really hard to sell him. No one's really going to want to buy him after the injury hit season he's had. And because he's already here, he could be a decent backup to Bruno Fernandes. He's Premier League proven, and we know that he has got ability to him. So in certain Europa League games or Cup games, he should be played and Bruno Fernandes should be rested. Now this is a no-brainer. Kobbie Mainoo is obviously staying. He's a fantastic player. I don't need to say anything about that. Van der Beek, I forgot he was even here. Get out. Hannibal, a young player, but I don't think he's got the quality, and I don't think he's got the head as well either. I think he's too. I think within like the first week or something, or he went on loan. He started beefing the Sevilla players or something. I don't know what happened. But yeah, I think the only other option for Hannibal is to loan him. He's definitely. I don't think he's good enough to start or be a sub for us. He's getting quite old now. Just let him go. Now the next one is Palistri, and I think this is a tough one because he's not really had any impact in Man United. He's not really had the chance to have an impact in Man United. There are a couple other players in this list that we need to talk about, and we are already looking at a right winger this summer. So I would probably honestly let him go. I haven't when he's come onto the pitch. Yes, he's been an exciting player. Yes, we have to always be nice to him when he's on the pitch, but I just haven't seen enough of him to properly judge, and I also haven't seen him do enough on the pitch either. Jadon Sancho, look, I'm honestly going to put him in the middle because if he can resolve the issue with Ten Hag, I would keep him. He is a good player. We've seen that at Dortmund. You know, we're looking at Elise this summer. He's a better player than Elise, but Elise is Premier League proven, and this guy hasn't done enough in the Premier League. Honestly, I would give this guy another year. Honestly, but if he's not willing to resolve the conflict with Ten Hag, if he's not willing to just be humble and say I was wrong, even though if he's not wrong, just say I was wrong, then he'd have to go. I would keep him if I could. But it's up to him if he wants to be a Man United player next summer or not. And at the moment, it really, really doesn't seem likely. The next player is Amad Diallo. For me, is a no-brainer. He is definitely staying. Look, there's a player in him. He looks silky, he looks saucy, like Sancho was at Dortmund. But this guy performs. He's performed in the Man United shirt in the last 2, 3 games, and he's younger, and he's got a good head on him. I think he's, in my opinion, got a higher roof than Sancho does. I think he can go a long way. We need to train him. We need to grow him, and he could be absolutely phenomenal. Now, the next one is Anthony. A lot of people are just going to start shouting at me for this, but I honestly would keep him. I'd give him at least another year. This year's been hard for him. I thought his first season at Man United was good for his first season. The second year for him was supposed to be a growth year, was supposed to be where he's supposed to elevate his levels. He obviously didn't do that, and we all know that he hasn't had a good season. I put that down to off the field issues. I put that down to too much criticism from the media. He needs to get his head right this summer. I'll give him one more year. I'm willing to give him one more year because I know there's a player in him. I've seen not only what he's done at Ajax, even at his first year at Man United, there have been glimpses of the player inside him. So I would honestly keep him. And because it's only been 2 years of him being at Man United, it's going to be quite hard to sell him. I would probably give him one more year to give him a chance to prove himself, and that's it. If next season he's had a season like this year, then it would probably be time to move him on. But I want to see him play for one more year. He's a player I really like. He's got skill, he's got ability. I trust him for another year at the club. If he can do well that season, then I would like to keep him. Give him one more year to judge him, and then we can decide later. The next one's a no-brainer for me. We're keeping Alejandro Garnacho. Again, I think last season actually, he looked more exciting than he was this year. This year, at times, he was a bit predictable. His end product could be a bit better when it comes to crossing. But remember, he's still a young kid. He's got a long way to grow. If he can find that excitement he had in the first season, I think he could reach an unbelievable level. The problem is this year he's had like zero competition, which means that he's had to play every game. He hasn't had time to take a break from the team. He hasn't had time to like work on his ability or whatever. He's had to play pretty much every game this season. I feel like when you play football, if you're constantly playing, you don't really look at yourself and try to evolve. However, if you're given like breaks or if you're told to come off from the bench, sometimes you're on the bench, you're seeing it happen. You sometimes feel a bit more motivated to come on and, be a bit more skillful or something like that. And I think he has lost a bit of his flair, I'll be honest. But he's still a wonderful kid. And I think we have to keep him at all costs, if possible. Now, the next one is one of the biggest ones. It's Marcus Rashford. And I honestly think it is time to go. And the reason being is this: if he's on his game, he can be unplayable. But he's on his game once every 3 seasons. That's not enough for a Man United player. Now, the reason I give someone like Anthony another chance is because Marcus Rashford has been here for, 6, 7 years. And he's no longer a young kid anymore. I think he's got quite a lot of value in the market. And I think maybe for him and his own career, actually, it might be beneficial if he takes a break from Man United as well. I think if we want to adapt and really modernize our way of playing, he doesn't really suit that style. He's obviously a very direct player. He's fast, he likes to run at people with speed and cut inside and shoot. But in terms of intricate passing and possession play, he's not that kind of guy. He's not someone who, when you're coming in up against a low block, is someone who can break that low block down. And I think more of that techie sort of player is what we should be going for and looking for in the summer window. Yes, we need players who can mix it up, and in some games, having that raw physicality and that raw pace is going to be helpful. But we need to start prioritizing possession based play and technical play and all that sort of stuff as our main focus and our main style of play. Right now, we're prioritizing counter attacks and individual brilliance as actually our main way of playing games, and that's been the case for the last 4 or 5 years. I think now's the time to take a break from that, look at how we can play more intricate football, and if we want to play more intricate football and more stylish football, we have to axe Marcus Rashford. And on top of that, he's not completely injury prone like Anthony Martial, but he still has injuries about him. He's very inconsistent. And yes, he can be amazing, but the problem with him, he's amazing for quite a short time, but then he's rock bottom for a lot of other times. And I think for him, he just needs to clear his head and get a fresh start. Now, the last player on this list is Rasmus Højlund. I think I'd keep him. I don't think anyone else can really argue with that. The only thing is, I would say, is we need to find someone who can help rotate with him. A lot of people are saying go for a big name striker like Tony or Kane. I wouldn't go for that because that means that one of those guys, either Hoyland or the new player we bring in, has to get benched. And if you go for a big name player, they aren't really going to be looking to be benched. And I think in order to really grow Hoyland to the best of his abilities, he needs to be our starting number 9. So in the summer, we should be looking for someone who can complement the way he plays.